And a warm welcome to all participants of the 8th edition of the Ethics from Epic series. I'm Anand Bhargav, a volunteer at Disha Bharat based in Singapore. Disha Bharat is an NGO working in the field of education since 2005 with the aim of inculcating values in the youth. The vision of Disha Bharat is to transform youth to transform nation. This vision is realized through collaboration with many educational institutions across the state and country. All the programs, workshops, and events of Disha Bharat revolve around the theme, know yourself, know your country, and know your culture. Enriching lives through values is our motto, and various programs are intended to develop cultural values to the youth, namely personal, family, social, national, and spiritual. Being the 20th year of Disha Bharat service in the field of value education, we have taken up many new initiatives to reach the message deep and wide. One such initiative is Ethics from Epics, monthly lecture series. The socio-cultural, religious, political, and spiritual scenario of India has always triggered questions and debates on understanding the practice and ethics, values, and traditions. A study of the Indian epics, especially Ramayana and Mahabharata, reveals interesting and contrasting views on ethical systems that ruled our societies in those times. A thorough understanding of these texts helps us live in the ethical framework even in the present age. The BhagavadGita offers profound insights into social responsibility and sustainability ethics, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all beings and the importance of righteousness, action, we call it as dharma, compassion, seva, knowledge, and awareness. Today we have a great speaker, Dr. B. Mahadevan, enlightening us on this wonderful topic, sustainability and social responsibility, taking inspiration from the Bhagavad Gita. We welcome him to the session. Before that, let me quickly introduce our distinguished speaker. He retired as a professor of operations management from IIM Bangalore, where he taught more than 30 years. As alumnus of IIT Madras, he is also a respected figure in the academic circles, having held key roles, including the Dean of Administration at IIM Bangalore and editor of IIM Bangalore Management Review. He has also been a visiting scholar at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, US. Beyond his academic contributions, Dr. Mahadevan has published widely in international journals and authored notable books, including Operations Management, Theory and Practice, and an Introduction to the Indian Knowledge System, Concepts and Applications. As founding Vice Chancellor of Chinmaya Vishwavidyapita, he pioneered programs blending Indian knowledge system and contemporary education. His commitment to Sanskrit and Sanskrit spans over 2 decades, promoting it globally through Samskrita Bharati, public lectures, educational initiatives as well. His contribution to Sanskrit include advising on national policy and introducing Sanskrit to corporate and academic audiences, making a significant impact in the Indian knowledge systems. In addition to all these achievements, he is also a trustee and advisory board member of many NGOs and has been the guiding council member of Disha Bharat for many years. End of this session, we will have a short Q&A, and then we request the participants to ask questions in the YouTube comments sections below. Without further ado, over to the man himself, Dr. B. Mahadevan.
Okay, good morning, good evening, and thank you, Anand, for a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Disha, for this invitation. More importantly, thank you for this series of ethics from epics. I've been watching Disha for the last perhaps 10, 12 years. And Disha has been going from strength to strength. And I am not surprised that you have been able to reach hundreds of thousands of students, not just in Karnataka, but all over India. Hopefully, in another 10 years, you'll reach all over the world also. Anyway, so today I have chosen to speak about social responsibility and sustainability in epics, particularly the kind of insights that one can think, one can look in BhagavadGita. BhagavadGita is, of course, part of the great epic Mahabharata. So in some sense, what we are going to see today is some ideas of sustainability from Mahabharata, because Bhagavad Gita is part of it. Now, we all know that sustainability is a buzzword, not just here. Sustainability is a buzzword all over the world. Everywhere people talk about sustainability. And when people talk about sustainability, quite often they talk about climate change. They talk about, we also notice it. Climate change, for many of us, climate change is not just a theoretical idea. We are able to see that the rainfall patterns are changing. Even in Bangalore, for example, in India, you find that the rainfall patterns have changed. You have either excessive rainfall. They call it as adivrishti or anavrishti. So either you have adivrishti or anavrishti, and all these are indication of some issues related to sustainability. Of course, we have been often hearing also about acid rainfall. It's not water which is flowing, it is acid which is flowing from the heavens, that kind of things. This is on one hand. On the other hand, of course, we have been seeing a lot of movement, human chains on, saying, let us protect the nature, that kind of movements. In fact, I was reminded, quite some time back, probably about more than 10 years back, I think. Once the RSS, in Bangalore, in one of the chapters, they called me and said, sir, why don't you give a talk? I said, fine. And of course, they introduced me with whatever my background and so on. And the person who introduced me ended up saying that now we have Professor Mahadevan who will tell us how to protect the nature. So that got the better out of me in some sense. So before I started the talk, I made this observation. So let me make that observation today before we really talk about sustainability, because we talk about this protecting the nature and so on. So I keep telling that, in fact, that time I mentioned that nature does not need any helping hand from ordinary mortals like you and me. So I made that observation. Nature does not need any helping hand. I told that if there is any wisdom, it is better that we protect ourselves from the fury of the nature. So, so I told them I have not come here to talk about how to protect the nature, because I don't believe that we can protect the nature. On the other hand, I am going to come and talk about what we can do so that we can protect ourselves and the future generation from the fury of nature. So that's one part of the story. Now, before we really get into the problem, so all that I want to say is, moment we say sustainability, the top of the recall for every one of us is that we need to protect the nature, we need to be more responsible in terms of using the natural resources. Therefore, we can leave something for the future generation. So these are the kind of conversations, dominant conversations, whenever we talk of sustainability. Anyway, let it be so. Before we get into the problem, before we get into the issue of sustainability and what epics have to say and so on, let's try to get a sense of the problem also. So first of all, the first thing that we need to know, there are quite a few people talking about it. The first thing that we need to know is that the global levels of consumption and global population at one level and the global levels of consumption that we are going through is such that it cannot be sustained. It is nowhere near the levels, of what, everybody tries to imbibe the practices of the West, particularly the US, and maybe to an extent some of the European nations and so on. But it looks like it is not possible. It's simply not possible to sustain that level of affluence that you find in US, although even developed societies, developing societies like India, the Asian countries, the so-called third world countries are very busy trying to emulate. I don't want to use the word ape. I would certainly say emulate what these so-called developed nations are doing with respect to how you live, what kind of affluence, because all these have a certain impact on sustainability. Now, if you, being a professor of management, let me tell you, companies, whatever you may say, companies at the end of the day, they may have so much talk about sustainability. They may say, it's very important to be sustainable and so on. But I think what appears quite clear on the writing on the wall is that company exists primarily to take care of return on investments. All other things follows. Better financial performance. Although today people talk about ESG, environment sustainability, and all that, and triple bottom line. So many ideas have come. I have also reasonably read many of them and lectured about them also. But at the end of the day, it appears that all of them play second fiddle to this preoccupation that company exists for return on investment. So, that's the kind of status on which we are. I will just take one example of the way we live today, which can potentially indicate the kind of problems that we have when it comes to sustainability and social responsibility, etc. Let's take this wonder called bottled water. Wherever you go, you get a half a liter bottle or maybe a liter. You have a 2 liter, 5 liter cans, etc., etc. So there is a statistics which is dated 2004. It says the bottled water usage in 2004 is about 26 billion liters, and 28 billion plastic water bottles were produced at that time. And not surprisingly, 86% of these bottles end up in garbage. I mean, if you want to have a sense of it, you just travel in Indian Railways. If you travel in Indian Railways, the entire length and breadth of the two rails, you will find water bottles being thrown on, just out of the window being thrown, and it's heaps and heaps of water bottles. You go to public places like a bus stand or, such places, what you will find is there is more and more of water bottles all over. 1,500 water bottles are thrown into the garbage every second, apparently. 17 million barrels of oil used to produce the bottles, and 2.5 million tons of carbon dioxide emitted in manufacturing the bottles. So this is the scorecard of just one idea of this modern living, which we have imbibed from the West. Carry a water bottle wherever you go. So that has left this kind of an impact on us. I want to bring to your attention, there was a very interesting concept called biosphere 2. Essentially, what was happening is some scientists got together, and what they did was invested $200 million, elaborate equipments, and they created a 3.2-acre glass. So it's a sort of a glass chamber, which is 3.2 acres. And they call it as Biosphere 2, sometime in 1991. And what they really found was it failed to generate breathable air, drinkable water, and adequate food for just 8 people. We are not talking about the population of the earth, just 8 people. So if this is what, this they call it as Biosphere 2. We are all living in Biosphere 1. We have taken many things for actually granted. So there are a host of such, kind of statistics. I don't want to really bore you with statistics, just to tell you that 5% of the population, which is part of US. US has 5% of world's population, and it consumes 30% of world's resources and creates an equivalent to something like 30% of world's waste. And other countries want to actually replicate this idea. They want to live that kind of a day-to-day life, right? So there is a concept called ecological footprint. Okay, I have to tell all these, then only we can get in squarely into our discussion. There is something called ecological footprint. Essentially, what it means is, on a per capita basis, if we want to sort of make, even if it is a back of an envelope calculation or a reasonably good calculation, if you want to know how much resources are required to meet an average person's need, so that is called ecological footprint. And again, there are studies which shows that the ecological footprint for United States is 12.2 acres, which means to average resource required is equivalent to what is being produced in 12.2 acres per person. In Netherlands, it is 8 acres, which is 15 times its area. And in India, it is 1 acre. But then in India, the population is very high. So the story is no good, actually. It's equally bad. So the question, therefore, in front of us is, why are we in this mess? In fact, are we aware that we are in this mess? That itself is a big question that we need to ask. Why are we in this mess? That's the most important question we need to search for. And only when we understand certain paradigms of sustainability with which we are living today, world over, then we will understand why we are in this mess. So there are 3 key pillars of this current paradigm of living. Let me state them. The first paradigm is consumption engine must run. You have to keep on consuming, because that's the only way by which you can grow economies. I don't know which economist came with this idea. I mean, maybe because of a certain assumption. So you need to keep on consuming. That's why even in Bangalore, you are slowly imbibing this culture of shop till you drop. Come weekend, all that you need to do, just go to your mall, spend the whole day, buy something, watch a movie, eat something in the food court. The consumption engine must run. This is the first paradigm which governs our living, which we have imbibed from the West. The second paradigm, which also governs our living and so-called prosperity, is that the world is a machine. And we human beings, therefore, exist as though we exist outside of this, and we can control this machine to suit our requirement and so on. This is the second assumption with which we live. And this is coming from this classical work of René Descartes in 1495, the Cartesian coordinate. I mean, this separation of human being from the rest. So you need the 2-dimensional, that is a Cartesian coordinate system in some ways. So René Descartes' philosophical work, rested on that. So, we have covered that ground very well. The third paradigm with which we are living is nature is bounty. It's available endlessly. So our job is to exploit it. So therefore, consumption engine can run. So now you can, connect the first one with the third one. If nature is bounty, and that means you can keep consuming. So these are the three major paradigms, whether we know it, whether we think about it, whether we recognized it, but all these are implicit in our living. And all of them have a major impact on sustainability. So this is the background. This is where we are coming from. Now, if this is what we are today, it is time for us to sort of step back and ask ourselves, what is it that our epics is saying? What is it our Dharma Shastras are saying? What is it that let me tell you, it's not just the Indian tradition. I can, safely say it is the Eastern tradition, which seems to have similar views on this particular matter. Maybe if you go a little deeper, maybe all civilizations which have lived uninterrupted for more than 3,000 years or maybe 5,000 years may share the same sort of a value system. And what is that? So what is the governing paradigm of life which was there, which we seem to have abandoned in favor of these three paradigms which I talked about? Consumption engine must run, world is a machine, and nature is endless. Now, in contrast, our epics, our Dharma Shastras, if you see, it unequivocally, implicitly, explicitly, through stories, through so many things, it clearly brings a completely an opposite view. What are those? First thing, we believe deeply in the concept of oneness and what is called mutual dependability. It is not a Cartesian system where I am there, something else is there, I can sort of play around and then work around it, exploit it, use it to my best. All that is not our, Dharma Shastras are saying. It talks about oneness, sarvam vishnumayam jagat, vasudeva kudumbakam. There are all kinds of things one can keep on saying. Sarvam kalvidam brahma, neha nana asti kinchana. There are so many such Vedic statements, Upanishadic statements we can keep on quoting. All of them are saying that we strongly believe in the concept of oneness. And the moment you believe in the concept of oneness, dependability is the name of the game. Because, it is only a question of the world view is one of give and take. It is not just taking and, giving in a different way. It's not about that. The world view is one of give and take. And a corollary of this, again, the second corollary of this so-called oneness is earth is the mother. Prithvi is mother. That is our understanding. It is called Virat. In Taittiriyopanishad, it is called Virat. It is called Virat Swarupa. The Brahman is Annam Brahmeti Vyajanat Annadyeva Kalbimani Bhutani Jayante Annena Jatani Jivanti Annam Prayantya Bisham Vishanti Tatmi Jignasasva. That is what Bhrigu was told by his father. So this Annam is not food. Annam is actually Virat. That's the meaning of the word Annam, which means the whole world is the source for everything. That's the mother. So earth as mother has deep meaning and implications for this society, for this, for our epics, for our, repository. The entire knowledge repository was riding on it. So therefore, worshipping nature and the related ecosystem is an integral element of Sanatana Dharma, is the integral element of our Vedic living, Vedika living. Whatever you do, you have to sort of, work around this idea that you have to worship nature and the related ecosystems. Moment we step out of it, we have a problem. And, those problems can go beyond, out of hands, and then we can scratch and say, let us do some carbon credits. The whole idea of carbon credit is also a market mechanism, which means you have a lot of carbon credits, you have more license to pollute. It's only trading a credit with a certain debit. That induces a different, fundamentally doesn't alter our understanding of sustainability. It only makes somebody more eligible and somebody less eligible, etc., which is a market mechanism. Whereas if you look at these perspectives in our epics and our Dharma Shastras, it is all about oneness, it is about worshipping nature and related ecosystem. And how do you do it? There is a very practical and a very operational way of doing it, and which is in a way captured by what is called austerity. Austerity is a great virtue to be practiced. In fact, I must narrate a very interesting personal experience that I went through. 1999, I was in the US for a year. So that was my first visit to US. I stayed there for about 10, 11 months. So after a long journey, layover in Schiphol in Netherlands and all that, finally I reached Boston. From Boston, I go to New Hampshire, where I was to be there for nearly a year. And I reach at 7 o'clock, 6:37 in the evening. And I was quite hungry, because I have not been eating and it's been a long journey. So I looked around, there was one small pop and mom stores. I went there and I couldn't find anything. Then I turned around, I found something called Grand Union. In Boston and New Hampshire, there used to be bigger supermarkets called Grand Union. So I got into Grand Union and I was shocked by the size of the shelves. I mean, in terms of, probably about half a kilometer long. You go to a Walmart superstores, it was like that. Perhaps the shop was half a kilometer long, and I found all kinds of colors in cornflakes packing. Light yellow, dark red, some light blue, sky blue, green color. So much variety. But then, I picked up something and it came back home. And instead of eating what I brought, there was a food for my thought. My first sense was this is not a very sustainable way of living. So I sat down and then I wrote an article, Economic Worth of Indian Austerity. I sat down, I wrote an article and sent it to Hindu, and Hindu published it the next day morning. So what I'm trying to say is our cultural background is all about austerity, whereas there it was all consumption, using resources very nicely and in a very lavish way in some sense. Now, how was this? How did our culture, how did our Puranas and epics bring this idea to us? So there are two parts to it. One I call it as defining framework, another I call it as operational framework. So what is this defining framework? The defining framework is called dharma. See, we use this word dharma in a very, very, everywhere we use, day to day, this is not my dharma, this is yuga dharma, this is purusha dharma. We use dharma, we attach dharma to so many things and we keep talking. And if you really ask me, please define what is dharma, I should go back to, the Mahabharata. Since we are talking about the epic, I should go back to Mahabharata. And in Karna Parva, there is one episode and there is a heated argument between Yudhishthira and Arjuna. And Yudhishthira says that I'm going to kill you. Yudhishthira says your Gandiva is of no use and all that kind of things. Then Arjuna says, I'm going to kill you because my dharma is to kill anybody who talks ill of Gandiva and so on. So Krishna then comes, there is a set of 10 shlokas there in the Karna Parva. I don't remember the chapter number. There is a beautiful definition of dharma. I'm not getting into all of them, but I'll give you the key definition. Dharanat dharma ityahuhu dharmo dharayate jagat. Yad dharana sanyuktam saha dharma iti niṣhṭāh. Dharanat dharma ityahuhu. Something is called dharma because it has the capability to sustain. What is dharana? The word dharma comes from the Sanskrit root dhrui dharane. Dharane means support, behold. That's what sustainability is all about. Can you sustain? That's what we are asking, no? So the very word dharma, yat dharana sanyuktam, all that which can link itself to the core principle of sustainability, saha dharma iti niṣhṭāh. That is called dharma. So at a conceptual level, at a very fundamental philosophical level, our epics have defined sustainability with a framework called dharma. That's why we say we have to be very dharmic. We have to do things in a way which doesn't vitiate the dharma. That is why in our Purusharthas we say dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And this is exactly the order. You cannot even modify this order. It is dharma, Dharmasya anusarena artah. Dharmasya anusarena yavat artam asmabhi sanchitam. Tat anusarena kamah. That is the idea. So that is the only sustainable way. So this is a defining framework. Then comes an operational framework. So what is this operational? What is the concept? Fine. Now, please tell me, how do I actually use it in my day-to-day life? How do I actually imbibe those practices so that I can live a very sustainable kind of a living? This is the next question that comes. Now, what I will do is, this is where I will bring BhagavadGita now. Now, the operational framework, according to me, is called yajna. While dharma is a defining framework, to put it in use, Sri Krishna beautifully described the notion of yajna. Yajna is described in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. It is also described in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, he says, yajña-dāna tapakkarmaha pavanani manishinam. That's what he says. It purifies people. It purifies people's thought. It purifies people who are all very of high thoughts and so on. Yajna dana tapakarma bhavanani manishinam, like that. So this yajna, Sri Krishna defined beautifully in chapter 3, which provides real operational framework for sustainability. So we will use those 4-5 shlokas and try to understand what it is. The first beautiful definition Sri Krishna gives is available in shloka 10 of Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3. And this is how the shloka is. It says, Saha yajña praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadhyam yeshavo astu ishtakama. That is what this shloka is. Beautiful shloka. Purovacha prajapatihi. Oh, some time back, Prajapati, the lord of the prajas, uvacha, he told. And when did he say? Prajaha srishtva. When he created this world of living beings, he said something. What did he say? Saha yajñaha prajaha srishtva. He not only created people, he also created a concept called yajña. So when he created living beings, not people, when you say praja, they are living beings. When he created living beings, Prajapati said, there is something called yajna also I am creating. Anena, use that cardinal principle of yajna. Prasavishyadvam. Let all the desires which are impregnant in it, let it all get fulfilled. Okay, enabled. Ishta kama duk. Kama duk, milks the cow of desire. Ishta kama duk. You can milk your cow of desire, provided you follow this principle of yajna. So this is the first shloka, and very beautifully he brings a certain concept. I call it as the concept of finiteness. That is what he is bringing. He's saying, why is this? He did not say, you just go after your pleasures. This is what we are doing today. You have some hedonic pleasures, you keep on going, and then you want to really, consume as much as you want. Hopefully you think you will be happy, whereas you are getting into what is called a yayati problem. In Mahabharata, Yayati says that. He says, after he exchanged his youthfulness with his last son Puru, he says, after 1,000 years, 900 years or 999 years or something, I have only become poorer. His consumption has taken me nowhere. So Krishna says, no, that's not how it is. You can consume, but your hands are tied with the cardinal principle of what is called yajna. So I call it as the principle of finiteness. The first cardinal principle of sustainability is we should know that nature is not unbounded. You can't endlessly exploit it. That's what is coming through this. That's why he said you have to use yajna and then milk your cow of desire. So the first insight we get about sustainability is that sustainability requires that we need to play within the rules of the game in our pursuits of material progress and enjoyment. Today, we seem to have just put it behind. We genuinely, unwittingly and unknowingly, I'm not saying, wantonly, we have not understood this concept. We have just left it. So that is what this shloka is beautifully bringing. Then there is a second shloka which follows that, which is the 11th shloka in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3. This says, Devan bhavayata anena, te deva bhavayantuvaha, parasparam bhavayantaha, shreyaha param avapsyata. Param shreyaha avapsyata. You will reach the pinnacle of prosperity. When? Only when you have this concept called parasparam bhavayantaha, paraspara bhava. So Sri Krishna brings the second principle, what I call it as principle of mutual dependence. Parasparam bhavayantaha shreyaha param avapsyata. Only those who have understood this basic principle of mutual dependence, interdependence, etc., for them there is success. When you say for them, it is not just individual. It is organization. It is actually, society. Let me give you an example. At the lowest level, boss and subordinate. Organizations are there. There are managers, there are supervisors, there are, directors, etc., etc. A whole hierarchy, boss and a subordinate. If the boss thinks he or she can throw all his weight behind and then keep, leaving the subordinates in lurch, demanding work from them in a very sort of inhuman and a very cruel way and so on, such subordinates will work to make sure that the boss fails. In the process, subordinate will also fail, they don't mind. Only such bosses who understand they exist because of their subordinates, there is this mutual dependence which is required, they succeed and they bring prosperity. Let's go to the second level, government and society. What happened about 10, 12 years before in this country? There was one prime minister who was just nice man, but he was just keeping quiet. I call him as Mohan Singh. He was keeping silent. So many things happened beneath his, neck. Now, what happened? One day, one person went to Jantar Mantar, sat, and then thousands of people started walking up and down, and they changed the government forever. So, government and civil society have mutual dependence. Elected representatives cannot think, I can do whatever I want and then get away. It doesn't work. This country has shown it very recently. Go to the third level. Man and nature has deep connections. That is why in a place called Kedarnath in 2013, in a matter of 3 hours, the clock was wound by 150 years by a flash flood. We need to understand. That's why I said we don't have to protect nature. Protect nature knows what to do. If you, misbehave with the nature, nature will correct it just like that in a couple of hours. So man has an intricate mutual dependence with nature. Living entities have an intricate relationship with non-living entities. Something happens in Iceland. If the rate at which the ice melts there, you have a climatic change sitting in Bengaluru. So it's a very complex cycle. All these we need to remember. It's not that, out of sight, out of mind. So the second principle that Sri Krishna brings in this whole search and journey for sustainability is what I call it as principle of mutual dependence. Then we'll go to the next shloka. There are only 4 or 5 shlokas I will take because it brings beautifully the whole concept. Then the third shloka, which is the following shloka, it says, iṣhṭān bhogān hi vo devāḥ, dāsyante yajña-bhāvitāḥ, tair dattān apradāyaibhyo yo bhuṅkte stena saha. It says, iṣhṭān bhogān hi vo devāḥ dāsyante. Whatever you want, the nature will give. The devā also means nature. What is devā? They are all natural gods. Whatever you want, the mother earth will give in bounty to yajña-bhāvitāḥ, those who know how to honor the principle of yajña. Tair dattān, whatever is endowed to people, organization, society, individual, etc., etc. Tair dattān apradāyaibhyo. If you don't give it, if you don't share it, care and share is what is coming here. Yo bhuṅkte, those who consume all for themselves. Stena saha. Stena means thief. They are nothing but thieves. So he says, whatever you have, you should develop a spirit of give and take. Share and care is a very, very important principle of sustainability, which is the third principle of care and share. If you don't do it, then it will create. So now what is happening? From mere rain and climate and etc., etc., Bhagavad Gita is taking us to what is called social sustainability. You cannot have a society in which haves and have-nots are far away. Wealth keeps on, accumulating for somebody. Opportunities keep on decreasing for somebody. And those who have greater wealth must give. I mean, this country hugely believed in it. Go to villages even today, you will see. It's all about giving all the time. It's not, there be a festival, there may be a village event. People, serve food, they give people, maybe buttermilk, they give food, they give even a place to sit, all kinds of danas. That's why dana is very important in this country. That's why in Taittiriya Upanishad, in the, Sikshavalli, in the convocation address, there is so much of emphasis on Shraddhaya Deyam, Ashraddhaya Deyam, Hriya Deyam, Piya Deyam, Sambhida Deyam. It says you give Shraddha, don't give without Shraddha. Give with Hri. Hri means when you give, you should have a sankocha. Oh, we should not hurt somebody. We should not make the other people think low. You should never do them. You should not throw it. You should not give it in. You should. That is why Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, Daridra Narayana. You have given me a great opportunity to serve you. Your Narayana come in the form of some poor people I can help. Biyadeyam. You should have fear of not offending. Sambhidadeyam. You have to give a lot. Lot is a very relative term. What is lot for me is a function of my wealth. What is lot for you is a function of your wealth. But every one of us must satisfy ourselves. We are giving lot. That's why Sambhidadeyam. All these are being told. So the third principle of care and share, spirit of give and take, raises the discussion of sustainability to social responsibility. Or I will call it as social sustainability. And Krishna continues that in the next sloka. It says, yajña-śhiṣhṭāśhinaḥ santo muchyante sarva-kilbiṣhaiḥ bhuñjate te tu agam pāpāḥ ye pachantyātma-kāraṇāt. Ye pachantyātma-kāraṇāt. Those who cook for themselves. Atma-kāraṇāt. They only cook sin, which means they only accumulate sin. Yajña-śhiṣhṭāśhinaḥ. Śhiṣhṭā means avasishta, left out. You give first and then consume the balance. For such people, they say, muchyante sarva-kilbiṣhaiḥ. They will be free of all their, bad thoughts, bad feelings, all that will go. That's why giving is very, very important, is very integral. That's why in Dharma Shastra, everything that we do, you call a Purohit to do a homa, you will find a large chunk of that is only giving. Although many people take offense to it. They say, oh, this Shastrigal is only for taking money. They don't understand the logic. That's why yajña dana tapah karma. Dana is very important. By giving dana, you will become much purer. That's why in all our ritual, there is so much of dana which is part of it, which the Purohits are saying, give for everything you give. People also, although they take offense to it because they don't understand the meaning of what is happening. By giving, we purify ourselves. That's why Mahanarayana Upanishad, Tasmad Danam Paramam Vadanti. There's a nice conversation. He says, Danam is good. So that is the let and let live, which is a social responsibility which Krishna brings. Now, how do we do that? Again, we can even go to one more level of operational in this concept. How do we do that? So there is this concept of what is called Pancha-Mahayajñas. You will find it in all these texts, epics and Puranas. You will find descriptions of this. There is something called Pancha-Mahayajñas, which is a day-to-day way of actually implementing this concept. And what is this Pancha-Mahayajñas? You have what is called Brahma-yajña, Deva-yajña, Pitru-yajña, Manushya-yajña, and Bhuta-yajña. So let me explain. All these are very beautiful concepts. We have just put it behind us simply because we don't know what it is. So what is this Brahma-yajña? Brahma-yajña is offerings to knowledge or worshipping knowledge. Please tell me which society will be able to sustain itself if all the parents say that I want to know everything about the best things what my forefathers did, I don't care to pass it on to my children. No, children, I will not go near them. I can't tell anything to them. They will do what they want to do. That society will perish in no time. You have to do Brahma Yajna. That society which transmits this knowledge down the generation through a systematic method only will flourish. And such societies which says, I don't care what is happening to my offsprings, let me make my effort and try to understand and leave it like at that. Indian society is in crossroads because a lot of well-meaning parents are here. They have abandoned Brahma Yajna. How do you do Brahma Yajna? You go and read Vedas, go and read Puranas. Learn it from a person. It's as important as your working, as important as your socializing. Pass it on to your next generation. That is the Brahma Yajna. So that is the first yajna we have to do. Then Deva Yajna. That is offering to God. It can be in the form of, you can put an altar and do a Sudarshana Homa, this Homa, that Homa. There are so many Homas are there. That is Sanketa. What is Deva Yajna? Deva means God. And where are the gods? The Vedic gods are all natural gods. Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Parjanya. So what do you mean by offering our obeisance to, Indra and Varuna and Vayu? Don't pollute. Don't make your environment filthy. That means you are not doing yajna. You are doing exactly the opposite of yajna. So Deva Yajna is sensibly living so that we are in harmony with our devas, which are all natural gods. You can do it through rituals. The rituals are meant for remembering that and taking it further. Similarly, Brahma Yajna can be do what is called Swadhyaya. Satyancha Swadhyaya Pravachane Dharmancha Swadhyaya Pravachane. Like that, it goes on in Taittiriyopanishad. Swadhyaya and Pravachana. And you learn it, pass it on. Then Pitri Yajna, offering our yajna to parents and ancestors. Because what every one of us are today are because of our parents. How can you just put it behind? How can you forget it? How can you be any less grateful? So Pitri Yajna is the third one which is required. Then the fourth one is called Manushya Yajna. I think we have to live and let live, share and care. So we have to offer to fellow human beings. That is our way of daily living. We have to do it. Kanchi Mahaperiyava used to say, Pidi Arisi. Every day you take one handful of rice and put it somewhere and then give it to poor people. We do it in our village. We have a system of doing it. Every house will give a certain amount of rice to the chatram. And there it is cooked, and depending upon the amount of rice available, we will be able to serve completely unannounced people, 50 of them every day, or maybe 70 of them, depending upon how much rice is coming and other things, expenses are taken care. So we should do Manushya Yajna. Then we should do what is called Bhuta Yajna. That's why every mother who knows the culture, who knows the Samskriti, after cooking the food, they will take a little rice and leave it outside to the crow. Squirrel will eat, crow will eat, or some even ants will eat, even some worms will eat, because we have such an intricate connection. So this Pancha Maha Yajna is actually a workable mechanism of practicing sustainability, which makes us be responsible to our nature, which makes us responsible to our own fellow beings, which makes us responsible to our own other living beings, which makes us responsible to our parents and our ecosystem. That is what it is. Now, is there a metric for sustainability? Because today, I don't know, in the corporate setting, they use ESG, a triple bottom line pyramid and so on. Whereas if you read our Vedas and our Puranas and etc., you will very clearly find, even in, vernacular text, if you read, you will find rain is the metric for sustainability. Somehow ancient Indians felt that a good metric for sustainability is rain. Shannakani kradadeva parjanyo abhivarshatu shanno dhyava prativim sham prajabhyasham na edit dipadesham chatushpade. It says, let the devas bless us with parjanyaha abhivarshatu. Let there be enough rain. And out of that, dhyava prativi, let the outer sky, the space, interspace, everything be peaceful. Prajabhyaha, all living beings be peaceful. Dvipadam and Chatushpatam. Ashtapati, Naupati, all of the four-legged, two-legged, eight-legged, nine-legged, all of them, let them remain. This is in Shanti Sukta of Rigveda. You will find this kind of a mantra. There are many more. So that's why in Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita says, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavah, yajñat bhavati parjanyah, yajña karma samudbhavah. So, A leads to B, B leads to C. Annad bhavanti bhutani. We all live because of Anna. Anna is that Virat Rupa. These, natural resources which are all endowed very nicely for us. And where is Annam coming from? Parjanyat anna sambhavah. A good rain is the basis for this Virat. And where is this rain coming from? Yajñat bhavati parjanyah. By being responsible to the society, to the nature, to all that, we actually bring rain. And yajña karma samudbhava. This yajña is nothing but this coming from the acts that we do, which are panchamaha yajñas, etc., etc., etc. So what is the fourth insight that we have? The fourth insight is only parameters pertaining to natural systems are good metrics for sustainability. All others are no good. They are all indirect. You should be able to measure it directly. So these are some of the concepts. So if you put these concepts together, then what happens is our notion of sustainability is not, there are three things. One is called natural system constraints. Then there is something called social system demands. Then there is a third thing called, individual and business aspirations. So all the three, if you look at, sustainability, they put three circles, Venn diagram. And they say the A intersection B intersection C is sustainability. That will be a very narrow space. Very narrow space. A intersection B intersection C will be a very small space. If that is a way of sustainability, we have no hope. But if you read the Indian scriptures, this is not the correct way. Instead of three, circles like this on a Venn diagram, it is three concentric circles, one inside the other. The bigger circle is natural system constraints. The second circle within that is social system demands. You should do social system demands, you should meet without violating natural system constraints. And taking care of social system demands, you should have business and personal growth aspirations. That will be the last circle, which is really the circle of sustainability. That is our ancestral thinking. And that is how it really takes us through this whole idea of sustainability and social responsibility. So to sort of conclude all these, let me summarize. We should play to the rules of the game. That's the first insight we get from Bhagavad Gita. We should honor mutual dependence. That's the second insight we get. We should live and let live. Share and care is very important. We should create metrics related to natural systems. If you are able to understand all these, then we really address the issue of social responsibility along with sustainability, because sustainability must also include social sustainability. That's what our ancestral thinking is all about. I think I will leave it here. I just wanted to share some of these thoughts, and I will now, leave it to you to take it forward. Anand, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahadevan. It was really a lot of insights, I must say. It was I just couldn't stop taking notes, like that's how it was. Amazing discussion we had just now. A few things that I noted down was essentially, how you laid out the whole thing, right? When you started off with basically how the change, climate impact, and then you talked about the three paradigms essentially. Consumption engine must run continuously. I think that was the first paradigm you mentioned about. And then you spoke about world being a machine and how the humans think they can control it. And then nature is bounty. I think those are the three paradigms in which we are living right now today, which is why we are in this mess probably. And then you spoke about how the epics bring about a few things, especially about oneness, more about the interconnectedness, and then how through austerity we could pray to the Prithvi or the mother, and then help us get over this oneness. And then you spoke a lot about yajna. This was a very interesting piece for me, especially around purity in thoughts and purity in action. And that was a very, very crucial insights that I saw that. And of course, some of the concepts were new to me, especially the few things which you spoke about in terms of shlokas, the concept of finiteness, and then how the consumption with yajna or finiteness is very critical. Then you spoke about a few other principles, which was new to me again, mutual dependence or interdependence. I've heard about interdependence a lot, especially in terms of when you talk about sustainability and ethics. What was also different was the principle of share and care. I know many of the corporates don't do this as much as they should be doing. But the social sustainability part that you touched upon was very interesting. We have been doing that in the past, like the haves and the have-nots, and how it cannot be far apart, but then we'll have to keep contributing back as dana. That was a very good insight again. And you touched on the last few, which are really the punch points, basically the panch mahayajna, right? So Brahma yajna, Deva yajna, Pitru yajna, Manushya yajna, and Bhuta yajna. I think I think I learned a lot today, especially the way you look at things, connecting it back to the epics. And there's so much told about all these things. And the insight, the last but not the least, is the insight around measuring. How do we measure this, right? So you mentioned one single word, which was rain. So the more proper rain we get, timely rain we get, then that's a proper measure of sustainability, which means so we are interconnected, we are working together with the nature, we are in sync with the nature, and then how we measure it is through timely rains and everything else. So thank you very much once again for this very, very wonderful insight. What we have is probably a few questions. I don't know how much time we have, but then again, you've touched on most of this, but then I still have to read out some of the questions which came in. Again, BhagavadGita talks about emphasis of balance in life, especially this principle, you touched upon that also, is creating a balance between economic development and environmental sustainability. So the question goes back here is, other than yajna and other than this dharma, are there any other principles that we can take forward to the corporates, especially in creating this balance?
No, I think the core idea is the balance. So if all that we need, I mean, it's a very axiomatic kind of statement. So we don't need anything else. We need to only, verbalize it and translate it into workable mechanisms. We don't have to look for something else because it's so fundamental that how do we create these four basic principles? I think there lies the critical pathway for, I think, sustainability. I wonder whether we should look at something else stepping out of this.
Outside of that. Yeah, there's another question around consumerism, right? So, and you did touch upon initially about consume, and then you touched upon this whole concept of the three paradigms, where we think the consumption engine must run, continuously, and then it's not about it's more and more and more and more, right? So where is this detachment going to come, and how could we potentially promote this detachment for sustainable living?
Yeah, so what really happens is a much deeper issue, actually. What really happens is the core difference lies in the assumptions of Sanatana Dharma vis-a-vis the Semitic religion. I mean, we are all actually, let me brutally tell you, we are all Semitic religion. You may call yourself a Hindu. From this perspective, let me tell you what it is. The difference between all Semitic religions and Sanatana Dharma is the principle of reincarnation. Today, but we don't live like that. It looks like we have only one life. So the whole idea of I want to consume more, I want to enjoy, I want to get the best out of it is a tension coming out of a deep intrinsic belief that we have one life. Moment we pull it out of us and throw it and say that we strongly believe in Sanatana Dharma, which means death is only a comma, not a full stop, lot of tension will come down. and our approach to life will completely change. And we will not have, of course, we'll have our own desires, but we won't have this mad anxiety to somehow get it. And if don't get it, get completely worked up and etc. etc. All that will beautifully transform into something else. I'm not saying our desire will go away. Desire only keeps us going, but it gets more nuanced. It gets more beautifully moderated in a larger scheme of things. It gives us a beautiful reconciliation when things don't happen. In fact, all our scriptures only talk about it. It says, how do you actually handle this? And the only way you handle it is to understand you have a continuity. You don't have to exhaust everything before you die now. So that's where some of these problems are coming. So we have to go back there. We have to truly believe that we have punarjanma, we carry our vasanas and karmas. Moment we are anchored into this, and this is very logical thinking, by the way. My favorite example is you go to a village festival, they keep mirror, pen, soap, etc. They give you 3 rings. They don't give you one chance. They give you 3 chances. 10 rupees, they give you 3 rings. To get a soap, you have to make 3 attempts. To perfect yourself, you need 3 million attempts, according to me. And if you say you have only one attempt, to me, it's a very unfair system. It's not a fair system. For a 10 rupee soap, they give me 3 times. First time I try, second time I learn from it, I try it slightly better. Maybe third time I hit it. Please give me more than one chance. And that's what Sanatana Dharma also says. We have umpteen number of chances. We are a going concern. We can only have a, P&L and a balance sheet. Every Janma, at the end of it, you have a retained earning, which you carry on. So it's a going concern. We have to believe on it very strongly. Then many of these issues will just melt.
Just vanish. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that explanation. It was very insightful again. I mean, this next question is slightly connected also to what we just spoke about. In terms of practical steps, right? So, we need to take this to the heads of the organizations, and I know you've been working on it quite a lot. What is your take when you talk about the epics and then the teachings of Gita especially, and how can we apply it to the workplaces, especially around?
Yeah. So actually, please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so that was my question. So when you had these conversations with heads of organizations and others in the industry, how has that response been, and how are they seeing this as practical steps to move forward?
Yeah, so one of the argument, I'm also trying to write a paper on that. It's at a certain version now. One of the arguments I make is organizations make change not because of anything else. It is because of individuals. So, in fact, I'm actually trying to write a paper. It says that the last mile problem in sustainability is the human being. And therefore, to answer your question, to make the long story short, the only way organizations will become sustainable is to make people who matter, who champion, who have the mandate to deeply imbibe in them the notion of sustainability. And that's where the epics will come. That's where a deep understanding of the epics and trying it in their personal life matters. Otherwise, we will not do it in the organization. Why would we do it? And at the end of the day, organizations make changes, and change management is all about people. And people must have conviction. People must have a certain belief that what I am doing makes sense. I think that kind of an investment is harder. So people have generally kept it outside of the all discussions in sustainability. I mean, there are any number of beautiful frameworks. There's no dearth of frameworks. There is no dearth of sustainable goals are there. UN sustainable goals are SDGs are there. You have different types of performance metrics, triple bottom, ESG, so many things. We have done enough. Enough water has flown under the bridge. Now we need champions to take it and then move forward. And that, in my opinion, comes only by their personal involvement, and they should do that's why they have to do Panchamaha Yajna at their own level. Then they walk into the organization and start making a change. Then it becomes contagious. When people who matter are able to lead and inspire, then happen. I see that's a last mile problem now.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And just one last question about the organizations you've been talking to, right? So, or even countries for that example. Um, where do you think some of our the major countries are heading towards? Is it somewhere people are kind of recognizing, or the countries are recognizing that they're going the wrong direction, basically? And
Well, you can
are they
bracket them into
making some changes there?
So you can bracket them into two buckets. I think there are a number of countries which are so preoccupied with the whole activity of increasing their prosperity and their personal standards of living and so on, and they very hopelessly think that you have to look at the other countries and what they do, we have to do, rather than addressing that problem from scratch. I'll give you a simple example. In in Bangalore, in every toilet, they have put some rollers with those tissue papers. I find moment people go and use the toilet, they become hysterical. They take all that and then throw it. Little they understand they are like jokers. There's nothing wrong in keeping a hand key with you. There's nothing wrong. I don't know what is the issue there. We lived like that and we are all changing. So there is one set of people who are moving on this side. But there are other set of people, particularly I find European, Scandinavian countries have taken the lead, Germany, Netherlands, etc., Sweden and all that. They have found that, well, we have done all these, but then we find nature is, retaliating and then coming back to us. They are turning back. They are turning back. They are investing in terms of policy frameworks, in terms of regulations and so on. I think they would be better off with the kind of fundamental philosophical frameworks that we have. Whereas we have all those frameworks, but we seem to be a little stepping outside of it and looking at elsewhere. So I think I club them into two countries. One set of countries which are making a turnaround, but that they don't know what is the right framework and which path to go, because they are genuinely trying to go there.
Yeah.
The other set of countries which are wanting to reinvent the wheel, I say, let me first get into the mess now and then let us find out what to do after that, kind of a thing.
Learning it the hard way. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahadevan. Really appreciate your time. And then the insights that you have shared is going to be very helpful to all of us. And once again, thanks to the coordinators and the volunteers of Disha Bharat who have been working diligently. All these 8 sessions that has happened so far is amazing amount of work they have done to make this program and the previous ones also very successful. Last but not the least, I really want to thank all the participants for their active participation. I'm seeing there's quite a lot of questions out there, but then we can address them separately as well. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Anand, for a wonderful sort of an interaction with me. I also thank Disha for giving me an opportunity. I think they're doing a wonderful work. I wish them very good. I pray to Sarveshwara and Jagannatha that Disha's work goes far and far and far and makes the kind of positive impact that we badly need at this point in time. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your guidance and your continued guidance to Disha Bharat.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. B. Mahadevan ji, for an amazing talk on Disha Bharat, the monthly talk series on ethics from EPICS, the 8th lecture on social responsibility and sustainability in EPICS, insights from Gita. Actually, we have a lot of questions that have been poured out on the comment session. So we will definitely reach out to you and collect answers to the question. So I request the viewers to visit this particular video, which will be on the social media. Please visit and collect the answers for those videos. And also, I would like to thank Anandji for being a wonderful host for today's program. And special thanks to all the viewers for joining online for today's lecture series. We look forward to seeing all of you in the next month for the 9th lecture in Ethics from EPIC series. So wishing you all a very happy and prosperous Deepavali in advance. Till then, Vande Mataram.